Happy Self-Love Sunday. I am Mo Sass, your host of Self-Love Sundays with Sass. I am your certified vision and empowerment coach who comes every single Sunday so we can talk about all the ways in which you can better your best. And this month, we've been talking about Successful September, ways of making this your most successful September ever. Listen, the truth of the matter is we only have a couple of months before it's the end of the year. And you absolutely, I don't care what has happened in the beginning of the year, you absolutely can take these last few months and 10x them and still make this your most successful year ever. So my question for you today is, where do you need to make adjustments and stop making excuses? Where do you need to make adjustments and stop making excuses? So the truth of the matter is, I'm a statistic. 16 and pregnant, mom on welfare, divorced single mom. I've been arrested before. I've also experienced some tragedies in my life, right? I've experienced, burying two sons. My aunt, who was like a sister to me, we were so young when she passed away of cancer. Her name was Gina. I've experienced so many things, as well as I'm the statistic, as they say. But the truth of the matter is, I never let that become an excuse for me not moving forward in life and going to the next level and achieving success, right? And it's funny because yesterday we were in the store, me and my son, he's the baby of the clan. He's 17, and I can't believe my baby is 17. But we were in the store yesterday, and I'm like, get the groceries you want. Like, get what you want to eat, because this boy don't eat nothing, okay? He's picky. So I'm like, get whatever you want. And he said to me, as we're going up and down the aisles of Costco, I'm like, whatever you get, I don't care. And he said, Mom, he's like, it's such a blessing and it's cool. And I'm like, what? He was like, that you can go up and down the store and just get whatever you want. Like, you don't even have to think about it. And when he said it to me, and I was like, yeah, it is definitely a blessing. And everybody, isn't able to do that. And it made me so proud, not only that he recognized it, but the fact of the matter is we're able to do that, and he's able to do that because I didn't make excuses. I made adjustments. I had every right to make an excuse, right? A single mom. I mean, first of all, being 16 and pregnant, I could have made excuses to not graduate from high school. I could have made excuses to sit home. I could have made excuses all along the way when all these tragedies would happen. Listen, and rightfully so, it wouldn't have been an excuse. When my son passed away, it wouldn't have been an excuse. I was grieving. It wouldn't have been an excuse. However, I made adjustments instead of allowing life to beat me down, right? And here's the truth. Excuses have been around since the beginning of time. So for those of you who are believers, I'm going to ask you, are you making excuses to avoid God's call? Are you making excuses to avoid God's calling on your life? Because when I hear things of, someone knows better than me, or I'm not worthy, or, because of my kids, I don't have enough time. All of those excuses are keeping you from your purpose. All of those excuses are keeping you from your purpose. And I wonder, why is that? What are you really afraid of? Right? And so when I say it's been around since the beginning of the time, I was reading the Bible yesterday, and it was Luke chapter 14, verses 15 through 20. And it talks about the story of, a great feast. And they were preparing for the guest, and he sent, his messenger out to tell the guests that, to come to the feast. And they had all these excuses. Like, preparing the field for the ox. It was just a bunch of excuses. And it made me want to ask, too, how many opportunities have you missed due to your excuses? This is the opportunity to sit with God. Listen, it could have been an opportunity for you to go have a seat at a table that you normally wouldn't have been invited to. It would have been an opportunity for you to listen or talk to somebody or ask questions about things that you want to get into. But you're so busy making excuses as to why you can't show up, making excuses as to why you can't place the phone call, making excuses as to why you can't afford a life coach. All that lack mentality in living, just basically what you can't do. and never realizing because you keep saying that you can't, that's why it's not happening. It has nothing to do with nothing else other than the fact that you won't make an excuse. You will continue to make excuses, and won't make adjustments to your budget, won't make adjustments to your schedule, right? Won't make adjustments. Listen, won't make adjustments in your pride and ego. Won't put it aside. Won't make the adjustment. Won't make the adjustment in your relationships. Won't make the adjustments in your household. And so what do I mean by that? So I'll just give you a quick story. Me and my daughter, who's my cheerleader, my come over, my baby, okay? She's 19 years old. A couple of months ago, we had gotten into a really, really bad argument. And when I say bad, I'm talking about bad enough that I'm willing to admit that like I put my hands on her, you know what I mean? And not in like I'm punching her or something like that, but like literally like grabs her up. And after it happened, it was such a bad argument, she left and she was very upset and she was crying. Now, in that moment, according to my aunt loved me, she was like, she provoked it, right? My aunt loved me. Or some of my friends, I could have sat with the excuse of she provoked me. I could have sat with the excuse of, well, I'm her mom. She's never supposed to talk to me in a certain way. I could have, but instead I made an adjustment. The adjustment was, I apologize, because at the end of the day, no matter what is said between us, it shouldn't take me to a point where I'm grabbing her, I'm putting her hands on her, or because that's literally causing her trauma in her life, right? And sometimes we make excuses where we'll say, well, somebody deserves something. But at the end of the day, I want you to sit back and ask yourself, could you have really made an adjustment? Or is that just an excuse? I really want you to think about it. And for me, that apology allowed a couple of things to happen. I mean, the situation happened and it wasn't a great situation, but it allowed for her to understand not to talk to me a certain kind of way. Because child, I have grown leaps and bounds, okay? I am not the same person that I used to be. I have transformed 180, all of those things. And yet there's still something in me that says, do not mess with me, okay? And all this love and positivity, I'm going to hug you, I'll hold you, I'll console you, I'll do all those things, and don't mess with me. All right? So she learned a very valuable lesson. I also learned a valuable lesson about, being sincere in apology and letting my behavior is the best apology ever. And so what that means is not only did I say it to her, but it is, something that I am not going to do again, because I absolutely have self-control and self-discipline over myself, where I won't allow that to take place anymore. Not just with her, with anybody, right? Now with that being said, like, come on, y'all. I ain't saying that I'm gonna let somebody put their hands on me and I'm just turning up no other cheeks. I'm not saying that so don't get no ideas. All right. Now, but again, in life, we can allow so many things to become an excuse. I could have let the fact that I was on welfare and only earning $322 a month, plus food stamps, let that stop me from saying I can't afford to go to school, or I couldn't afford. Like, listen, I made adjustments all along the way. There was times when I worked 3 jobs, like for real. There was times when it was like I did whatever I needed to do, legally to, ensure that I could take care of my family. I made adjustments all along the way. I got married. I was married. That was another adjustment. But having 2 incomes in the household made things a little bit different. We lived a little bit more lavishly, had the big home. Well, when the divorce happened, I didn't allow that, because I could have been like, well, that's an excuse, right? It could have been an excuse for me to move from the suburban community that I was living in to move back to the inner city where I was from. I could have allowed all that, but I didn't. I made adjustments. And because I was making adjustments all along the way, instead of excuses, it was allowing me to save a certain amount of money, right? I had to adjust my finances, right? I had to adjust my mindset. I had to adjust my perspective. I had to adjust my attitude. I had to adjust, come on, y'all. I had to adjust my pride and ego, because that's all that really was. But my pride and ego came from a wall that I had built because of all the hurt and the trauma that I had suffered in my life. So guess what else I had to do? I had to adjust my mindset on getting a therapist. I had to adjust my mindset on a life coach. And all of that has allowed me to grow into the woman that I am today. who's powerful, living in her purpose. Listen, real talk, 90% of the time, happy. Because 10% of life is going to happen, okay? And again, when life happens, I don't make excuses. I continue to make adjustments. So we're going to talk about, the truth too, coming up to the number one excuse I hear, especially from parents, is they don't have enough time and they got to do this and that for their kids. And the thing is, it doesn't work for me, with me as a life coach, because I had, at sometimes 4 to 5 kids in the house at a time, because it was 6 of them all together, and they didn't all stay in the same household at the same time, because some of them were older in out the house, but at least 4 at a time. And all of my kids did sports, travel cheerleader. We traveled all around the East Coast, travel softball as well as baseball. And it still didn't stop me from working out. It still didn't stop me from eating nutritious meals. It still didn't stop me from pursuing my purpose. It still didn't stop me from, doing well in my place of employment, because I'm still in management in a telecom company, and I just celebrated 25 years. None of it stopped me, because I didn't allow those excuses. I made adjustments. I adjusted, and I got help where I needed to get help. Right. And then another excuse, I don't have enough money. I can't afford that. Well, the reason why that's happening is because life and death is in the tongue, and you continue to speak death over your life. I don't say I can't afford anything. I say, how can I? And I sit with God, and I talk to the universe and ask him to show me how, and then I make the adjustment. I've said it many times before. I must spend at least minimum 10 grand a year on personal development. Why? Because I want to be better. Because I want to leave a legacy for my children's children. I don't believe I'm just reading the words in the Bible. I'm letting that stuff leap off the pages into my spirit and walking in that thing. And I said it before. I've said it in previous videos. And please go back and check out my previous YouTube videos about Successful September. But, I've said it, time and time again. When it comes down to it, it's simple, but not yet easy. So the way that I've been able to make this look easy is that I've been consistent with it. It's not about the fact that you're going to start today. Listen, I don't care what plant it is. If you put that seed in the pot, in the soil, it's not going to grow tomorrow. It's going to take time. And it's going to be the same thing with, if you're a person who has a lot of excuses in your life over and over again, it's going to take practice for you to continue to make those adjustments. So I'm going to give you 8 ways to stop making excuses today. Number 1, take full accountability for your life. I think, and I'm going to tell you, when I think about this, I know sometimes my friends be like, girl, I'm crazy. But when I think about, taking full accountability of life, I go back to the Bible of Adam and Eve. From the time, I think about God coming to Adam, and literally, what did he do? He shifted the blame to Eve. He took zero accountability for the fact of he could have stood up in the moment and told Eve, no, I'm not biting nobody's apple. I don't care what you say. Okay? I understand the power of women, fellas. Don't get me wrong. However, and you have to take full accountability for the part you played in it and not shift it. And that's the other thing. I see so many people. Blaming women. I'm not where I'm supposed to be because of the women that I picked in my life. Okay, but that was your choice. So now you're sitting up here blaming the woman, talking about her to everybody, dogging her out. It's all her fault. But yet you get to make the decision of A, the woman to that's in your life, and B, the choices that you made and when it came to your finances and everything else. Are you kidding me? And I'm saying the same thing, ladies. I'm saying the same thing to you. It's the truth of the matter is, you can blame the man. Well, he's sorry. He didn't, that he's not there for his kids. He don't pay child support. All of that. Listen, when my oldest son is not by my husband. When I was pregnant in high school, I could have made, his father wasn't in his life. I could have made every excuse known to man. It wasn't child support until much later in life. But and that wasn't nothing for what I had to pay for my son. But at the end of the day, I didn't allow that excuse. I made adjustments and I got busy. And I made a way and I made a life. Right? That to me took him and myself to the next level. Right? So again, taking full accountability for every single choice that you make, every action that you take, is a vote for the person you say you want to become. Okay? So number one, that's take full accountability for your life. Number two, leave the past in the past. Leave the past in the past. So many people are dragging their past for, even when they go to in new business relationships, in new relationships in general, right? Or when it comes down, they come into some money and they allow their old ways to get in the way of learning how to invest. So leave the past in the past. Stop going to everybody spilling all this mess about your past. Because every time you speak about it, unless you're speaking about it from a testimonial standpoint, right? Because that's okay to do, right? To help people understand that the things that you've gone through, that you listen, I say it all the time, if I can overcome all of the things that have happened in my life, so can you. Okay? But leave the past in the past. Start to live in the present so that you can have a better future. The reason why the things are shaping up the way they are today is because you're still thinking about living in and talking about the past. What are you going to do today to make sure that by the end of 2022, you've achieved the things that you wanted to achieve? I don't care what happened in February and March and April. Don't matter. What are you going to do today? Okay? So number two, leave the past in the past. Number three, if you get knocked down, please don't stay there. Life is going to punch you in the face. There's no other way to say it. We can't sugarcoat this stuff. Life going to happen. There's been more deaths across my timeline and from people I know lately than like all year. It's like every time I turn around, somebody has passed away, whether they're my age, in their 40s, people in their 50s. So we're not talking about our elders here, right? And then some elders too that I know of that passed away. And that stuff knocks the wind out of you. Burying two sons knocked the wind out of me. Losing my Aunt Gina knocked the wind out of me. Losing some great friendship knocked the wind out of me. Losing some relationships, they really hurt me. But again, you can't stay there. Don't allow that to be an excuse in your life. What did you learn from it? If it's something that happened, that's not grief, and then move forward. And then when it comes down to grieving, what I did was I have my sons with me. I live today more fuller and happier in my purpose because my babies ride with me. I live more fuller, happier in my purpose because I promised my Aunt Gina that I'm not going to drop this ball for our family legacy. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I didn't allow that as an excuse. I made an adjustment and got busy. All right? So that's number three. If you get knocked down, don't stay there. Number four, maximize your strengths and get help for your weaknesses. So whatever you're strong in, maximize that thing. Maximize your strengths, right? So this is my strength. This is my purpose. I am passionate about this thing, so I maximize this. But when it comes time to some of the back end things, like learning about investments, I get help. I'm actually about to get me a new finance manager. Because that's my weakness. But I'm not going to allow that to be an excuse as to why I'm not investing my money properly. No, I'm getting help. Right? There's portions of my profession I want to take to the next level. I'm not going to walk around and say, well, I don't understand and I don't get what it takes. No, I'm going to make the adjustment. And guess what? Hire a life coach. I'm actually about to get another coach for my business that's already been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? So that I can go to that level instead of saying, well, how did they get there? And I'm sitting around wondering and making all sorts of excuses of why I'm not bringing in the cash flow that I want. No, I'm going to make the adjustment. Okay. So maximize your strength, get help for your weaknesses. Help can look like therapy, a therapist. Help can look like different coaches. We have all different kinds of coaches out here. Okay. info@moesass.com. info@moesass.com. Reach out to me. Okay. Help can also look like getting in a community of like-minded individuals. Help can look like seeking out a mentor that's already doing the things that you want to do and doing it well. Please don't get somebody that's trying just like you are. You don't need somebody that's trying. You need somebody that's already achieved it. All right. Because the success leaves clues. I talked about that last Sunday. All right. So number 5. Ooh, this is a big one. Stop comparing yourself to other people. For the love of God, Stop looking at everybody else's life. Here's what I'll tell people all the time when they say like, oh, I wish I could do what you do or have what you have. And I always ask them, are you willing to suffer what I suffered? There's a sacrifice for people sitting in certain positions. Are you willing to take on that sacrifice? Literally, I asked, are you willing to bury 2 sons? Because that in itself changed me leaps and bounds. Have to ask yourself, when you look at other people's life and you say you want what they have, are you willing to sacrifice what they sacrificed? Stop comparing yourself. Know that your life can be just as beautiful and abundant in all of those things if you stop making excuses for the things that happened. Make adjustments. Learn every place you can learn. Take the lesson with you, not the trauma, and move forward. Get help, okay? But stop comparing. Stop comparing. And 9 times out of 10, you looking at people who show you one thing and live something completely different. And that's why last week I talked about discernment. Make sure who you following really living that life that they're speaking, okay? So that's number 5. Stop comparing yourself. And number 6, shift your perspective. Like a lot of times it's the way you see things. Like shift your perspective. It's so easy to go to the negative of everything, of why or what if it won't work out. All these fears. The people have so many fears just to pick up the phone and call somebody. What they think they're going to say and what they think they're going to do. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the person could most times does the complete opposite. I know it to be true because people will say, well, I was scared to call you, or, I was a little intimidated. You seem intimidated. They pick up the phone and it was like, oh my God, he's nothing like that. Because I'm not. Now, let me tell you, again, I started with them disclaimers earlier. I can be. But the truth of the matter is I'm not. Not any of those things, and it's true. Because here's what happens too. As you grow, if you allow yourself to grow and personally develop, you're not the same person you used to be. So somebody could have said something about who I was yesterday, and who I was yesterday was a force to be reckoned with, okay? Just from another angle. And, people allow that to stop them in their tracks. Well, if you stop yourself from talking to me based off what somebody knew about me 2 or 3 years ago, don't do that. And I say that not just about me, but I'm saying that about anybody. Don't do that. People are not the same. If 9 times out of 10, if people are doing what they're supposed to do in life, they're growing. They're not the same. Pick up the phone and have the conversation. It's not going to be how you think it is, honey. All right? So shift your perspective. Think about the good that's going to happen as opposed to the bad, instead of saying, what if it don't work out? What if it does? What if it goes totally opposite of what you thought, right? So shift your perspective. Number 7. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Literally just talked about that. Listen, I've said in many videos before, I talked about the fact of, me going to Puerto Rico, jumping off a 15-foot cliff, couldn't swim a lick. Sure, I had on a life vest. But the thing about it was, in life, every time you have to take a leap of faith, it's going to leave knots in your stomach. You're going to feel like you can't breathe. Feel it and do it anyway, because everything that you desires on the other side of fear. I remember before I was going to start doing these videos, I was scared. I was like, oh my God, I didn't like the way I looked. This is when my self-esteem was in the toilet, honey. I was like, oh, I don't like my nose. Ooh, I look like me. All these things. I'm saying all this negative, bad stuff about myself, right? And it was all because I was scared, right? Most people are doing that is fear. So I was like, you know what? I started to feel the fear and I started to do the videos anyway. And it's been the best thing I could have ever done, right? I felt the fear of public speaking for the first time. I did it anyway. Best thing I could have ever done. Why? Because I'm living my purpose and I'm touching people in ways that I never thought I would. And that to me is everything. I want to leave here as empty as possible, giving all my gifts away. And this allows me to do it. So feel the fear and do it anyway. And lastly, but really the most important, get away from negative people, y'all. Get away from people that'll keep you in some mess instead of helping you achieve success. Get away from people who will keep you in some mess instead of helping you achieve success. Real talk. If you around people and all you're doing is gossiping, you're around the wrong folks. How's that gossip been getting you to the bag, as they say? How is that helping you become a better woman or man? If you're listening to negative people all over the internet, because it's all over there, talking about how negative relationships are, how bad dating is and all that stuff, that's you're inviting that experience into your life. And I'm not saying that it's not some bad stuff out there. Do not get it twisted. However, remember what I said. I don't live in my past. I take the lesson and move forward, and I discern more, right? And I choose from a better place. And I'm going to give this last little scenario before I end this video. I talked about one point in time that of a person having a magic kitchen. This is videos from like last year. And I said, if you had a magic kitchen where you can make any meal you want at any time you want, you can have anything, all your favorites, anything you can think of, you can just drudge it up in this kitchen. You don't even have to think about it. You say it and it's there. And somebody comes and knocks on your door and they offer you this, like, hey, I will give you these 5 pizzas if you do whatever I ask you to do. You're going to look at him like, pizza? Are you kidding me? I got a magic kitchen. I can whip up some sushi. I can whip up some filet mignon. I can whip me a tomahawk steak. I can whip up me some lamb. I don't care about your pizza. You can slam that door and go on about your business. But what if you didn't have a magic kitchen? What if you were starving? You had nothing in your kitchen. You were hungry, okay? I'm talking about you haven't eaten in months. Almost, first of all, years. Like, you are just starving. You don't even know how you're going to make it. And somebody knocks on your door and they say, hey, I have these pieces here. If you have 5 pieces, you can have them as long as you do whatever I ask. Guess what you're going to do? You're going to take that pizza and you're going to eat all that pizza and you're not going to care what it is they ask of you. And that's the same thing that happens with y'all when it comes to loving yourself. Because you are so empty, because you have not put the time in yourself, because you have not developed yourself, because you haven't loved yourself, people can walk in your life and offer you anything and you take it because you're starving, because you haven't fed yourself. And you absolutely can create that magic kitchen. It's called personally developing yourself. It's called spending time with yourself. It's called getting away from people, places, and things that don't serve your highest good. Getting away from those people who live in lack mentality. Getting away from those people who question you, question your dreams and your aspirations, who don't push you forward but pull you back because they're jealous. And they're like, man, I can't think of things like that. Or because I can't achieve it, they can't achieve it. I don't care if they're your family members. I don't care if they're your friends. It don't matter who it is. Get away from them, because that stuff is holding you back. People who make excuses all their freaking life as to why their life is the way there is, blaming everybody else. I'm tired of that stuff. I don't blame nobody for things that happen in my life. I take full accountability. And because I take full accountability, me and my son can walk around and he ain't worried about the price of things. He can just go in there and get what he desires. Creating that magic kitchen and feeling proud about it. And not feeling like, oh, I can't say anything about it because of what people are going to think. I don't have time to even think about that, right? Because I'm so busy in here in my magic kitchen, understanding that when I first started out 16 and pregnant, on welfare, being a statistic, being a single mom, all those things, living from paycheck to paycheck, job to job, all the mess and the stress. I didn't have that then. I didn't know about my magic kitchen. But now that I do, guess what? Life is different. I'm in places, I have clients that I could only ever dreamed of in my life. I'm thriving, no longer surviving and starving. So when people show up, I'm just taking whatever they hand me. I don't have to anymore. Not from a pride and ego place, because that's completely different. But from a place of, listen, I love me now. I love me enough to say, hey, listen, that doesn't work for me. I love me enough to say, hey, listen, I have to move forward in my life, and you can't go on the next phase with me. That happens. That happens. And I love you for listening today. I hope you have the most amazing Sunday. And let's continue to make September the most successful yet. Again, if you haven't checked out my old videos, they're on my YouTube channel, Life Coaching, the W with Sass. Also, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, Life Coaching with just a W, not the whole whisper, the W Sass, SASS, info@mosass.com. And if you want to check out my website and join my community, it's www.mosass.com. Thank you.